Welcome to Thrive Through the Fire, the podcast where faith meets resilience. I'm Alyssa Kilgore, a survivor, a believer, and someone who's walked through the fire and come out stronger. I created this podcast to share my journey, encourage you and yours, and remind you that no matter what you're facing, God is with you in the fire. Each episode will dive into stories of faith, healing, and purpose, because the fire isn't where your story ends. It's where your strength is refined. And if you're looking for hope, encouragement, and a community that truly understands, you're in the right place. Hit subscribe so you never miss an episode. And if this podcast speaks to you, leave a review. It helps others find encouragement too. And don't forget to follow me at Thrive Through the Fire for more support and connection. Now let's dive in. Hey friend, welcome back to Thrive Through the Fire. If you're new here, I'm Alyssa Kilgore, a mom, a nurse, a Jesus lover, and a stage 3 colorectal cancer survivor who has learned a thing or two about hard seasons. And today we're talking about something everyone needs to hear: how to show up for people who are going through hard stuff. Because let's be honest, most of us have no clue what to do when someone we love is struggling. Do I say something? Do I bring them a casserole? Do I pretend that nothing's wrong and talk about the weather? The fear of saying or doing the wrong thing can leave us doing nothing. And friend, that's the worst thing that you can do. So today we're breaking it all down. What not to say and what to say to someone in a tough season. How to show up in a way that actually helps. I'll give some biblical examples of true friendship in hard times. I'll share my own experience, what people did that helped, and what made me want to throw something. And I'll share some practical tips so you can be the hands and feet of Jesus to someone in need. So whether you have a friend going through illness, loss, depression, divorce, or just a really rough patch, this episode will help you be the person they actually need. Let's start with some real talk. Most people are terrible at knowing how to handle someone else's suffering. I am most people. When I was first diagnosed with stage 3 colorectal cancer, I noticed there were two very distinct groups of people: the ghosters and the fixers. Okay? So the ghosters, I'm sure you can imagine, they were the people that just no text, no calls, they were just gone. Why is that? Because they don't know what to say. I was a ghoster. I still am a ghoster sometimes. I want to fix things. I don't want to say the wrong thing. I want to make things better. And when I don't know how to do that, because most of the time there is no solution, I just disappear. I go silent because I don't know what else to do. The other group of people are the fixers. These are people who have great intentions, but they tend to say things that are not super helpful. They say things like everything happens for a reason, or God gives his toughest battles to his strongest warriors, or they try to give you suggestions like, have you tried this? Have you tried that? You should do this. Here's what I wish people from both of these groups understood. You don't have to fix it. You just have to show up. You don't have to say the perfect thing or the right thing. You just have to be there or be available. So let's talk about what not to do. Let's start there. When someone is walking through the fire, whether it's an illness, loss, mental health struggles, or any kind of hardship, your heart might be in the right place, but your actions can either bring comfort or can unintentionally be uncomfortable. Okay, so here are a few things to avoid. Now, this one's going to sound weird. You're not going to believe me when I say this, but don't say, let me know if you need anything. Crazy, right? Because we say it all the time. I still say it all the time. It sounds nice, but it puts the burden back on the person who's already overwhelmed. When you're in survival mode, when you're going through something, it's hard to even know what to ask for. So just bring something. It doesn't have to be anything specific. The thought is all that matters. The thought that counts. That's rings so true in this. So if you wanted to bring food, just pick something to bring. If you wanted to bring treats, just pick something to bring. If you wanted to bring flowers or coffee or, whatever the situation would warrant appropriate, just bring it. Asking somebody just causes overwhelm. Think about that. When we are asked to bring something to anything, to a potluck, to a Bible study, I think we all sit there in small panic mode and go, what should I bring? What are they going to like? What are they going to want? What's going to be a good choice? And could you imagine if you were going through something hard and you had to worry about that as well? So don't ask, just do. Something else to avoid is comparison. Don't compare pain. Please don't say, I know exactly how you feel. Or this has happened to me a few times, launch into your own story, especially if it's not even similar. The comparison is the thief of joy. I say that all the time. It also holds true in uncomfortable situations. Comparing your story to somebody else going through it is just uncomfortable, because then I find that the person who is going through things, like I've had to do this, I'm comforting somebody else when I'm going through my own hardship. And that's awkward. Don't disappear, okay? Some people vanish when things get hard. It's awkward or uncomfortable. But when you go radio silent, it can feel like abandonment. I get it. Everybody's busy. Life is busy. People are crazy. And I say this often, is that life gets in the way sometimes of us following up or checking in on people who are going through things. But even if it's just a quick text, hello, or I'm thinking about you, or an emoji, that goes such a long way. Like, we know that people can't always spend hours or be on the phone for a long time or send long text messages because everybody's got their own stuff going on. But saying nothing it's very lonely. Something else that is no good is offering quick fixes or platitudes. Everything happens for a reason, or at least it's not worse, or it could be worse. These might be true, but they're not always helpful in the moment. It's hard when you're going through things, even if your faith is super strong, to hear that everything happens for a reason. We know that God has a plan. We know that his plan is perfect. We know that God's timing is not our timing. And when you have faith, you understand that. But when you're going through something hard, it's sometimes a moment that you need to get your bearings together. We've seen this in the Bible. We've seen this with Job. We've seen this with Jonah. Even people who have had great faith still need to kind of take in their situation. They need to have their own reaction before they can go back to fully trusting in God's plan for them. So when people say things like everything happens for a reason, it could just be very bad timing that you are sharing that platitude with somebody. So I always just don't offer it up as what I think somebody would want to hear. Something else that you don't want to do is to push your timeline on their healing. Now, as a nurse, I have a background in nursing. I still work as a nurse sometimes. This is something that I understand from a nursing perspective. Everybody heals differently. So healing is not a one-size-fits-all journey. Don't expect someone to be better. I say that in quotes, you can't see my hands, or get over it, also in quotes, on your schedule. All right. It takes time, and everybody's timing with this is different. So just because you may have seen somebody have a physical healing faster or an emotional healing faster doesn't mean that everybody is going to have that. And there's also peaks and valleys. There can be days, there can be weeks, there can be months where everything is getting better. It's getting easier. You're healing quicker. And then you could go right into a valley. So it's really important to just give those people grace, instead of, kind of pushing your timeline on their healing. When I think about what not to do when your friend is going through something difficult, I think about Job's friends. We talk about Job a lot on this podcast. He is a man of great faith, and he has this story of struggle and suffering, and he has faith through all of it. So if you don't know the story of Job, if you're not familiar with this story, he is a righteous man. He faces immense suffering despite his piety. God allows Satan to test Job's faithfulness by taking away his possessions, his children, and even his health. All in one day, Job loses all of these things. And despite these hardships, Job maintains his faith and refuses to curse God. The cool thing about Job and his story is his friends come and seek him out after they learn about all of the hardships that Job is going through. In chapter 2, verse 13, it says, "Then they sat on the ground with him for 7 days and 7 nights. No one said a word to him because they saw how great his suffering was." Okay, so at first, Job's friends nailed it. Like, this is great. They were quiet. They were present. They didn't bring Pinterest quotes or awkward theology. They just sat with him. But then they opened their mouths and they started to say things that weren't helpful. They said stuff like, "Job, maybe you sinned." They said, "Maybe God is punishing you." They said, "Maybe you just need to think more positively." Okay? Their words weren't helpful. And the lesson here is that we shouldn't try to interpret or explain someone's suffering. Sometimes just sitting with them is exactly what they need. We want to be kind when somebody is going through something difficult. We want to be patient. We want to be present. Okay, this is something that I have to remind myself. You don't have to fix their pain. And so that also reminds me that I can't go radio silent because I don't know how to do that. You just have to walk alongside them in it. And if you're not sure what to say that. I don't know what to say, but I'm here. I find myself doing this more often now than anything else. I don't know what to say, but I'm here. So what can we do? Obviously there's some things that we shouldn't do, and it's helpful to understand those. But if you're still somebody who wants to do something, what can we do? Well, if we look to the Bible, we can look at the story of Ruth. I think the story of Ruth is a really great story of the ultimate loyal friendship, companionship. In Ruth chapter 1:16, it says, "Where you go, I will go. Where you stay, I will stay." Naomi had lost everything. She lost her husband. She lost her sons. She lost her security. She was grieving and she was bitter. And Ruth didn't try to talk her out of it. She didn't preach to her. She also didn't leave. She stayed. So sometimes the best thing that you can do is to not leave. Just be the one who stays. So some practical ways to show up in the hard season, like some tangible things. So you're listening and you're like, okay, Alyssa, I understand that sometimes I just need to be there. Sometimes my presence is all they need. Sometimes I don't have to say anything. I can just be with them, but you're still looking for something tangible to do. Like you are the person who's like, I gotta do something. So here's some things that I thought were super helpful. We talked about ditching the let me know if you need anything question. Instead, say, I'm bringing dinner this week. Does Tuesday or Thursday work better? Like, just be assertive. Just bring the dinner. The worst that could happen is they don't eat it or they put it in the freezer. But guess what? That is such a wonderful gesture and appreciated by everybody involved. Instead of saying, do you need anything? Say, I'm at Target. What can I grab for you? And maybe it's just the milk that they forgot to pick up, or maybe it's their prescription that just got called in and they didn't feel like going out and getting it for them. Or maybe it's a sweet treat that they want because it might make them feel a little bit better. But when you ask the question like that, it takes the pressure off of the person who is going through something difficult to try and come up with an answer or even feel comfortable asking you to do something for them. Something else that you can do is to be there without needing a response. So what I mean is sit with them, drop them off coffee or tea, send a card. Don't expect them to pour out gratitude or to entertain you. They're just trying to breathe. And that was super helpful. Every once in a while, I would find something out front of my house or flowers would show up. And it was just such a great gesture that people were thinking about me or they were worried or they wanted to do something. But it was also very nice that I didn't have to necessarily have somebody in my house and make sure that it was cleaned or well kept or entertain them or have a conversation or not be in my pajamas. So that is a really great thing to do. Something else that you can do for them, and this one is the best thing to do and the easiest thing to do, is to pray for them and to tell them that you're praying for them. All right, don't underestimate this one. A simple I'm praying for you today can breathe life into a weary soul. All right. Something you can do is to keep showing up. All right. And this means don't get discouraged if you text or you drop something off or you visit and you don't really get a good response or reaction. Okay. Don't text once and disappear. Show up again next week in person or on a text message, and the week after that, and the week after that, because hard seasons don't follow your schedule. They don't really follow anybody's schedule. All right. And this last one goes hand in hand with that, and that's to not take it personally. Okay. If they're quiet or they're distant or they don't respond, please give them grace. They are not being rude. They're just trying to survive. And if you are living with somebody or you are in close proximity with somebody who's going through something difficult and you're seeing this, or they're being short with you, give them grace. Sometimes we tend to take things out on the people that we love the most because we understand that they will, that they love us back and that they will be our punching bag, and that they won't take offense to this. And so it's not right that we do it, but that's what we tend to do. And what personally helped me the most, because I had some absolute rock stars in my life who did get it right, were the meal bringers. We had a meal train created for us. I have been a part of meal trains before, but I had never been the recipient of one. And I actually, had told them in the beginning, like, no, thank you, we'll be fine. My husband is also like me. We are very independent, and we think that we can handle all of the things by ourselves, and we don't take a lot of help. And so he was like, when you don't feel like cooking, I will do the cooking and we will be fine. And the women from my church insisted, and I'm so glad that they did, because there were so many wonderful things about this. One was, I was amazed to see how many people I didn't know from our church who wanted to help. And that was a really great way to meet and connect with those people. Two, it was just such a lifesaver. There were so many days where I didn't feel like cooking, and I couldn't even eat, so I didn't want to cook. Not that I wouldn't have done that for my family, but when you don't feel like eating, you don't really feel like cooking. And there were days that it was just so busy that it was a great resource for my husband. So that was awesome. Tasting other people's food was amazing. We had some really delicious meals. And so I got new recipes for those meals. And there was so much food. We had the meal train set for every other day for a few weeks. And we had things in the freezer. And we had so much food that it felt like I really didn't have to cook for a long time. And neither did my husband. And everybody was still well fed and taken care of. So that was fantastic. I also had silent errand angels, and they were just people who would stop at places that they knew I had things, I liked things, or I needed things from, and they would just grab them and they would drop them off. Something I couldn't have anything cold when I went through my chemo, and the cold, if I touched anything cold or I drank anything cold, it felt like razor blades in my throat or on my hands. So I drank a lot of tea, and the one that I liked most was like the medicine ball from Starbucks. So people who, would normally go and get their Starbucks coffee for themselves would pick up a medicine ball for me. I also had a friend who came over and did my laundry, and that was amazing because, as you can imagine, as a family of 6, if I don't do the laundry every single day, it gets so behind. And so it was great that she did that. I never asked her to do that. She just knew. She just knew, as another busy mom, that that was something that couldn't have fallen to the wayside, or we would have been drowning in dirty clothes. I also had people do gentle check-ins, and that was like mostly through text messages. But that was great. People who sent messages that were just like, no need to respond. I'm just thinking about you today. Of course, I had my prayer warriors from church. When I felt up to going to my Bible study, the women would pray for me and lay hands on me, and that was absolutely amazing. My favorite was when people just showed up and sat with me. Like when they talked with me and they joked with me and they treated me like nothing was wrong. Sometimes this can be the hardest thing, and it still happens every once in a while. It definitely gets better as time passes, but you just want to feel normal, right? You don't want to talk about what you're going through. You don't want to dwell about what you're going through. And timing plays a huge part in all of this. It might not be the right time to just ignore what's going on or to even joke. But laughing and joking, that's what I liked the most. Now, it's scientifically proven that laughter is the best medicine. So for me, that's what I wanted. I didn't want sympathy. I didn't want pity. I remember Christmas after my chemo and radiation, we went to my uncle's house. He always does a big get together on Christmas Eve for the family, and we get dressed up, and there's lots of food and there's drinks, and we just laugh and we talk and we catch up, and there's lots of cousins. And my one cousin, had said to me, she was like, "Oh my gosh, Alyssa," she's like, you look so good. She's like, "It's like you're glowing." And I said, "Oh, thanks. It's the radiation." And everybody froze at one point and like kind of like looked to make sure it was okay. And then the one cousin laughed, and we all laughed. And it just felt so good to laugh, right? So listen, you don't have to be a counselor or a theologian for somebody going through something difficult. Just show up. Just love them. Just remind them that they're not alone. Galatians 6:2 says, carry each other's burdens, and in this way you will fulfill the law of Christ. When you show up, you are doing kingdom work. Whether you're bringing a casserole, or you're just sitting in silence, or you are laughing until tears are rolling down the face, God is using you. And if you are the one in the fire right now, friend, you are not forgotten. God sees you, He's with you, and He's carrying you. Let me pray for you guys. Father God, thank you for every person listening right now. Thank you for the people who walk beside us when we're hurting. Thank you that they help us, and they are the kind of friends who reflect your love. Not always with perfect words, but with faithful presence. And for those who are suffering right now, I ask you, Father God, to wrap them in your peace. Show them that they are seen, that they are known, and they are deeply loved. In Jesus' name, amen. That's it for today's episode of Thrive Through the Fire. If this spoke to your heart, take a moment to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who needs encouragement. Remember, God is with you in the fire, and you are stronger than you know. Keep pressing forward, keep believing, and keep thriving. For more inspiration, behind-the-scenes content, follow me on @ThriveThroughTheFire. I'd love to hear your story or pray for you. Until next time, stay strong, stay faithful, and keep thriving through the fire.